UFC Fight Night 250 is here. And what an exciting UFC Fight Night this is. I'm excited to break this down for you. In the main event, in the A side, we have Israel Adesanya, one of the biggest draws in UFC history, fighting in his first non-UFC title fight in 6 years. Israel Adesanya is one of the greatest middleweight champions that the UFC has ever seen. It's him and Anderson Silva. Adesanya had 5 defenses of that UFC middleweight championship belt, and he had some great wins over his UFC reign. He beat Robert Whittaker to become champion, and when he lost the belt, he ended up getting it back to Alex Pereira by knocking him out. And the Adesanya Pereira rivalry, one of the more iconic MMA rivalries that we have seen. In the UFC, the score is one apiece. Would you like to see that fight again for the trilogy? I don't know if Adesanya is at the level in his career that Alex Pereira currently is at. Adesanya has lost 3 of his last 4. To Pereira, to Sean Strickland, to Dricus du Plessis, and he doesn't look the same. He doesn't have that same fire, I think, and that competitive edge that he once had. And I think that was kind of clear in his fight with Sean Strickland. It looked kind of clear with his fight against DDP at UFC 305 as well. That was the last time we saw Adesanya. But competitor Izzy, when he was a UFC title challenger, that was when he was at his best. That's when he was at his most vicious. But it doesn't seem in the buildup that he is that guy anymore. He was saying that he feels like an old dog, and he's just trying to tell the younger guys that he's still here. For this fight, he is going to be facing Nasruddin Imavov, the number 5 ranked middleweight, who's only 30 years old. He's hungry. He hasn't had the success, the fame, the money that Israel Adesanya has had throughout his career, and he is dying for that title shot. And Israel Adesanya is in a really weird spot in his career. Do you feel like he would beat Sean Strickland in a rematch? Do you feel like he would beat Dricus du Plessis in a rematch? Do you feel like he's the best middleweight contender in his division? I'm not sure he is. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev is in that division. Do you really feel comfortable of Israel Adesanya going in there with an elite grappler such as Khamzat Chimaev? I personally would not. But this whole thing of where is Izzy at in his career is going to be answered on Saturday. If he loses, is this the end of Israel Adesanya in the UFC? Is this the end of his MMA career? It very well may be. Israel Adesanya is probably going to be fighting for the UFC as long as he wants to. But what's the point if he's not at that championship level status? I know he loves MMA. It's going to be hard for him to let go. It's hard for all these fighters to let go of something that's been a huge part of their life, something that they love. But Israel Adesanya, he has accomplished everything in the sport that he needs to accomplish. He is a UFC Hall of Famer. He is one of the most successful UFC fighters in history. He's one of the biggest draws in history. He's made more money than most of these UFC fighters. His fame and career will not be over when his MMA career is over. He's a celebrity. He's the icon of the MMA community. And rightfully so, Israel Adesanya has done a lot of good for mixed martial arts and the UFC. But I think the question is how much does he have left in the tank? And again, we're going to have this answered on Saturday. But he's facing the sniper, the number 5 ranked Imavov. How do you feel that Adesanya is going to do in this fight? That really just ranges to what his mentality is. Chael Sonnen was talking about in his YouTube channel how, someone's grit and toughness declines over time. And when you're Israel Adesanya, that grit and toughness and desire to be champion again, when you've already had so much success, is probably fading. It's probably not what it once was. While he's competing against guys who still have that desire. And, that's going to be tough to overcome and to win fights in a competitive UFC. Adesanya is going to be fighting a really good title challenger here. Someone who Khamzat Chimaev could possibly face down the line. Chimaev is who I believe will be the UFC champion by the end of 2025 if we can get him in the octagon against DDP. But Adesanya is a terrific fighter. I just think his time may be over, and I have a feeling that this is the last time we will see Israel Adesanya in the UFC octagon, win or lose. I could be wrong. You never know. But on Saturday, I will be watching just in case this is the last time we see Israel Adesanya. And in the co-main event, we have Shara Bullet versus Michael Venom Page, which is sneaky, an amazing fight. These guys are really unpredictable. Shara Bullet is becoming a UFC fan favorite very quickly. He's the number 14 ranked middleweight. He competes with just one eye, which just shows his grit and determination to be a UFC champion. He's about 30 years old. He is one of the most unpredictable strikers in the UFC. That spinning back fist knockout at UFC 308 was a highlight reel knockout. That was probably the most exciting, fight in that UFC 308 card. That wasn't the main event of Poirier and Holloway. But Shara Bullet is a star in the making for the UFC. He's a really entertaining fighter. That unpredictable striking, something that we all love to see. And he's fighting a fellow unpredictable striker in Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page is the number 14 ranked welterweight. He will be going up to middleweight to challenge Shara Bullet, which is really exciting. Fight. Matchup wise, this is really intriguing. I personally favor Michael Venom Page in this fight, even though he is the slight underdog. Michael Venom Page has the experience advantage over Shara Bullet. He has a 6-inch reach advantage over Shara Bullet. He's really good at keeping his distance. But when breaking down this fight, I think it's a matter of who executes their game plan best. If Michael Venom Page can keep you on the outside, use his amazing footwork, stay on the outside, use his reach, I think he is going to have a very successful night. He is an elite striker. And, an elite striker versus an elite striker, I'm going to favor the guy who has more experience and the reach advantage, and that is Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page is a Bellator veteran, really intelligent fighter, and I think Michael Venom Page is going to be the victor in the co-main event. But what a card this is for the UFC. And this is coming at a great time for the UFC, as, the PFL has dominated the headlines in the last week following Paul Hughes and Usman Magomedov's Bellator title fight, in the PFL, which was a fantastic fight. Paul Hughes is really emerging himself as one of MMA's brightest stars. And, the PFL has someone that they can kind of build around now in Paul Hughes, which is, something that they desperately need. And that people want to see this fight happen again. It's an early fight of the year contender. It's the PFL's best fight ever. But in the UFC, having Israel Adesanya, compete this week is going to put an end to that news cycle for the most part, as Israel Adesanya is one of the biggest stars in MMA history. Is this his last fight? Michael Venom Page, Shara Bullet, I think is going to deliver to be an excellent fight. And, the Big Brother organization is going to be back on top and in the news cycle again, heading into UFC 312, which will feature Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis' fight for that middleweight championship. I'm not overly thrilled about that card as a whole. I really respect DDP and Sean Strickland as fighters. Sean Strickland's not my favorite fighter to watch. He's had some boring performances in my opinion, particularly his fight against Paulo Costa, which really just sucked the energy out heading into the main event at UFC 302. But Sean Strickland is a great fighter. He has a very good chance to beat DDP. That was a really close fight. But personally, I think, Khamzat Chimaev is going to be the middleweight champion for a very long time. And, that kind of is going to end Israel Adesanya's middleweight championship run. And I think he's going to see that and think, this is the end for me here on Saturday, win or lose. But let me know what you guys think of UFC Fight Night 250 in the comments below. Do you think this is the last we're going to see of Israel Adesanya? Do you think this is going to be, an exciting UFC Fight Night card? Do you think it's better than UFC 312? I personally do. I think overall this is a better quality card than UFC 312. And do you think Michael Venom Page and Shara Bullet It's going to be fight of the night. Do you think it's going to be an interesting fight? And who do you have in that fight being the victor? Let me know what you guys think of all these in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. And thank you for watching.